Cooper got open and caught it. Touchdown, Indiana.
Going up the middle is Omar Cooper, and he'll walk into the end zone.
Complete at the 47. Surratt with no one to beat.
Hello and welcome back to Crimson Kickoff. Graham Nash and Thomas Crow. We are Joe Croninless today. Unfortunately, Joe is on the IR, Thomas, but we still got a lot of good football to talk about.
Well, unfortunately tonight we do lose Joe, but Graham, we get cooler tables. So I don't think it's a fair trade-off, but at least there is some benefit.
That's true. We got the candy stripe tables. We want to jump right in to the week 1 matchup for the Indiana Hoosiers against Old Dominion. Run you through a couple of the highlights from this matchup. First thing at first, Hoosier the Bison is back in town.
Yeah, Graham, that was not a smooth landing, but it was a smooth transition into becoming the mascot once again. Not a smooth play for Indiana here. Colton Joseph, on the first play of the game, takes it 75 yards untouched to the end zone, Graham.
179 yards on the ground for Colton Joseph. An unbelievable day for the quarterback. Indiana trying to clap right back. This helps out a lot. Kalen Black down the near sideline, just got trips up, goes out of bounds, but Indiana has a bit of a tough time punching it into the end zone, a trend that would continue throughout the whole game.
No success in the red zone really at all in the entire game, Graham. Here is the play, though, that started Indiana getting back into it. A 91-yard punt return touchdown. If you hit Jonathan Brady's teammates were telling him, don't grab that ball, but when you have the sideline and the blockers like he does here, you'll see the wave spread, and then he is gone. Foot race, 20, 10, and touchdown, Graham. Look at the blockers here along this right side.
That was unbelievable. 91 yards to the house, the longest punt return for Indiana since 2004. This was also a nice play for Indiana. A pick from Lewis Moore on the tip. One of 3 interceptions on the day for the Indiana defense.
Yeah, you get into the pressure of Joseph, and then he overthrows the receiver, gets it caught by Moore. This is one of the successful plays in the end zone. A little twirl into the end zone for Fernando Mendoza, his first rushing touchdown as an Indiana Hoosier. You can tell the fans absolutely love it, Graham.
They did, and Fernando Mendoza loved it afterwards, too. He was talking to us after the game saying that the environment was awesome. That's one thing. The Indiana crowd showed up and showed out. Let's take you through a couple of the stats from this game. Indiana, if you look at it, absolutely dominated the matchup.
Yeah, well, it's the rush yards that is kind of the big indicator in 2 ways. One, Indiana, 309 rush yards. That would have been second of what they would have had in a game last year. Only Western Illinois had more. But the 218 from ODU really is the story, Graham. Their 14 points came from 2 75-plus yard rushing touchdowns, both by the quarterback. So the score and the actual outcome of the game really was a little adjusted by the 218 rush yards.
50% of ODU's offensive production in that game came from Colton Joseph on the ground. He just absolutely killed the Indiana defense. But other than that, the defense was phenomenal for Indiana. You saw the first down stat, 30 first downs for IU, only 10 for ODU.
Yeah, it was the tip ball interceptions for me. 2 of the 3 interceptions were tip balls. Pons gets one, Farrell gets one, and then as we saw in the highlight, Reed Lewis Moore gets another. That's how Indiana got in this game. There wasn't success in the red zone, but that defense was stifling, really, other than 2 plays.
Something that Coach Signetti said after the game in his post-game presser was that, if you look at it, that defense controlled pace the entire game. Just those 2 slip-ups. Indiana going to face a lot of those dual-threat quarterbacks potentially this season, so definitely something that the defense is still going to want to clean up.
Graham, I'd like to see them get to the quarterback more. They only have 1 second. Yes, you are correct. Colton Joseph, as we've already seen, very fast. We talked about it, dual threat. Fisher talked about it. It was going to be a hard game and a hard solve. They solved it enough, but if you want to succeed in Big Ten play, you have to collapse that pocket a little bit more. Can't win games with only 1 sack.
Well, we got a lot of great stuff to talk about and break down this episode. We're going to go to the film room and break down all the pieces of the game for you. Stick around. Don't go anywhere.
Hoosier Nation, want a smarter take on IU sports? Then check out Crimson Cast, your go-to podcast for Indiana football, basketball, and beyond. Hosts Galen Clavio and Scott Caulfield bring you game previews, instant reactions, history, and context to make Indiana sports come alive. From the biggest moments on the field to the storylines shaping the future, Crimson Cast keeps you informed and connected. And after years of saying bring back the Bison, IU actually did it. So if IU listens to Crimson Cast, maybe you should too. Just search Crimson Cast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube.
Welcome back to Crimson Kickoff. We're at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. Couldn't ask for a better site for our show tonight, Thomas. We talked a little bit about the big hitters from that last game against Old Dominion, the season opener. Let's go back to the Colton Joseph touchdown and break down exactly what happened here.
Yeah, I mean, you see it's a read option play, and no one on Indiana's defense stays home. In the press box, Graham, no one really realized Joseph had the ball until he was past the 50. First play of the game, you're not expecting ODU to score. And then here's the other one, Graham, another 70-plus yard touchdown.
Yeah, he just took this one to the house. Similar thing. I mean, a couple of these Indiana defenders nearly got there, but it was just too little too late. He held on to that ball so long. He pulled it so late every single time that he had that read option and decided to go with the keeper. The Indiana defense just didn't have a feel for it throughout the entire game.
Well, Graham, you hit one of the 2 points right on the head. That was two great mesh, getting the ball out just right at the last second. You can tell Colton Joseph and his running backs have worked on that. Graham, the other part of that, though, that Bryant Haynes' defense has to clean up, you have to stay in your zones. You can't have 5 guys swarming to that running back without at least another guy or two spying the quarterback. That's what happened on the first one. Like I said, up in the press box, we saw the running back go down. Everyone thought the play was over. Well, Colton Joseph is at the 50-yard line about to score. You have to be able to stay home on those. Keep your eyes up. And yes, you want to be, as they say, fast, physical, and relentless. But you want to be a little smart on those plays too.
You mentioned the camaraderie between Joseph and the running backs to kind of have that timing. Makes it impressive that Colton Joseph didn't play much in 2024. He suffered a couple injuries. So to come out literally first play of the game and make that play is impressive. The other thing that it did was it totally sucked the life out of the Rock. The Rock was packed. This place was bumping, especially when Hoosier the Bison flew in. That just took all the air out of the stadium.
Yeah, and Indiana, what they end up doing on the next drive is coming down to this end zone and getting really, really close scoring. They had the Kalen Black run that we showed in the highlight read where most people thought he was gone. Then you get into the red zone and you think, well, Indiana, great in the red zone last year, right? Not this game. Get down there and then a pass. Mendoza tries to get it to that right side and it gets broken up. Wasn't a great ball. Should have thrown it a little more outside. And that really was when the air got sucked out of the arena. ODU kind of gets out of the shadow of the end zone, but then the punt return.
Now, a lot of issues in the red zone. Indiana backs stopped for no gain or worse on 8 rushing attempts. 5 of those came in the red zone. Let's talk about one of those rushers in Hemby. It was his first game with the Indiana Hoosiers transferring from Maryland, and he had a great game.
Yeah, John, I mean, look at this speed. He gets past everybody except that safety. Had a chance to get to the end zone. He doesn't. Here is what I like. Look at the physical run here. The lineman getting down there with him. And then, Graham, on this one, it's just bouncing to the outside and see if you have the speed and the ability to get going. He gets over to the 40-yard line.
He had 117 yards on the ground. Just use his muscle. Bolted right through the defensive line a couple times, but this is where things were kind of interesting. Was in the red zone. There's one of those runs for a very short gain. This was another thing we were looking out for Roman Hemby, was his ability to make catches, catch and run. He's not just a threat getting those handoffs. He's a threat around the passer. He can just kind of slip underneath the defense, make a catch, and then get a nice gain.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great screen play. They got the lineman out ready. I mean, anytime you can get a screen, your running back turns and he's got 3 blockers going with a head full of steam. That's going to be a good screenplay. Graham, Roman Hemby was not just Roman Hemby, all the running backs was really the offense for Indiana on Saturday. Fernando Mendoza, we've talked about it a little bit. He wasn't all the way there on Saturday. The running backs really helped him out.
Let's go into the second running back, that being Kalen Black. Black had the rushing touchdown for the Indiana Hoosiers in this game, and this was the big play. You already saw it, exploding down the near sideline, just getting tripped up around the 10. He stepped out of bounds. He did a great job of just getting downhill on big plays.
Yeah, well, this is the one you want him to score on, right? Like I just said, they don't end up scoring in this red zone trip. You want him to score on that play, but look at the block and then look at the power on that run. Not only does it look fast, it looks like you don't want to step in front of it. this is another one. He finally is able to get into the end zone on that play. One of the 2 times Indiana got into the end zone in the red zone. But when you give Kalen Black the ball within the 5-yard line, other than a couple times on Saturday, you're going to trust that he's going to get in the end zone.
We talked about something really interesting that I liked that I want to get to now, is that this duo, this running back duo of Roman Hemby and Kalen Black feels a lot like the Detroit Lions 1-2 punch in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Shout out to Thursday Night Football about to start. Professional football, the NFL, is back. But it's kind of that mix of Hemby can be that power guy, that quick, agile Jahmyr Gibbs type runner. And then Kalen Black can be the power, the muscle of David Montgomery.
And look what it did for Detroit last year. How many games did they win leaning on that running back duo? And Graham, something I would like to see, we talked about it. We don't really think that Shanahan really opened his playbook completely. It was week 1. It was against a team that Indiana was confident they were going to beat. But I'm excited to see how many 2 running back situations can they put together this year. How many times can Kalen Black and Roman Hemby be in the same backfield together? What kind of confusing aspects will that give to a defense?
Yeah, we also saw a bit from Lee Beebe Jr. He had a tough start to the game, that fumble on his first carry, but he even picked it up very, very well as the game went on.
Yeah, well, Graham, he had a fumble early in the game, and Beebe was a guy that hadn't really found his niche in that running back room yet, and you see him fumble on his first carry as a Hoosier, and you think, oh, man, poor kid. That's not what you want to see out of a transfer. But then he picked it back up. He led the running. When we're talking about the other 2 running backs, he led the running back room in yards per carry. He had 6.6 yards per carry. He got over 70 yards on the ground on Saturday. That just goes to show how dominant Indiana's ground game was. Graham, he had 309 rush yards.
Yeah. And over 270 of those came from the running backs. 33 for Fernando Mendoza, who got into the end zone with his legs as well. We're going to get to Fernando Mendoza, but first we want to talk about...
Yes, we will.
Oh, yes, we will. I know you're excited. First, we want to get to one of the receivers that he was throwing to, and Omar Cooper Jr.
Indiana tries to keep the drive alive. Mendoza down the seam, has a man. It's Omar.
You got to catch that ball, Graham. But still, he obviously didn't catch it. That was a great ball, but Omar Cooper, he ended up getting it back a little bit. He led the team with the longest catch later in the game. It came actually on a defensive penalty. He's getting dragged to the ground and catches that one. I know he would like to have that first one back. What a moment it would have been going into the end zone on a 50-plus yard play at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. Didn't get that one. Ended up getting it back though. Made up for his first mistake.
Shaking some rust off. That was kind of the theme of the entire game, frankly. For every player, Coach Signetti talked about that in the post-game presser. The players talked about it as well. It's just something that kind of has to happen for a lot of teams. Something that I think it was Brady that talked about it, who returned that punt for the touchdown, said, you watch college football across the board on that Saturday, there are going to be some really good teams that need to shake off the rest. I mean, think about Alabama losing in that opening week.
Texas
matchup.
Was the number 1 team in the country.
Texas,
and
right?
They sure had some dust to shake off.
Yeah. I think the promising thing for Omar Cooper Jr. is we saw him being used in different ways that we really didn't see in 2024.
Yeah, they put him in the slot more instead of just sending him downfield. He was one of the most targeted players in the first half for Indiana. It's a different way of using him. But Graham, another receiver that I don't think was used nearly enough, Elijah Surratt.
Yeah.
You talked about him a lot last week.
Yeah. Only 3 receptions for Elijah Surratt.
All in the second half.
All in the second half. I think around 44 yards for him. He did get there was one time in the end zone where he got targeted. A lot of contact, physical play, argued whether it should be a PI or not. It was not called. He was frustrated. It goes back to that rust idea that there was just, for some of the best players, Elijah Surratt has been tabbed as one of the best wide receivers, obviously, on the team, but maybe even in the Big Ten. For him to kind of have that slow start, I think a perfect example that there's just a lot of rust still, even though they've been in fall camp.
Stuff to shake off, Graham. We knew it. We talked about it last week. We thought that, they weren't going to come out and lay an egg, which I don't know. Some people might try and tell you they laid an egg. I don't think they did. I think you take away the red zone issues and the 2 long runs, this game feels a lot different for Indiana.
Someone who I feel like did not really have much rust to shake off was D'Angelo Pons. He had a phenomenal game for Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, Graham, look at this interception. This is a guy who has unbelievable instincts. Look how quickly he gets under that ball. Like I said, another tip ball interception. That is so impressive to get under that ball as quickly as he did. And Graham, this is a guy that we've had some minor conversations about. Is he an all Big Ten kind of guy? Is he an All-American kind of guy? Graham, when you can get about 6 yards of distance covered that quickly, just on the tip of the ball, and to get under it like that, that's unbelievable stuff. That is All-American type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's now kind of being tabbed as one of the best in the business right now of college football. He is so quick. He's maybe a little bit undersized compared to some of those guys, but he uses it. Like you said, that speed. He is rapid on the football field. Now, we had a very special chance. Our very own Joe Cronin, who can't be here with us tonight, unfortunately. He's on the IR. He had a chance to catch up with D'Angelo Pons. Take a listen.
I'm here with cornerback D'Angelo Pons of Indiana Hoosiers. And D'Angelo, you got a game under your belt. How did it feel to be back on the playing field in a real game atmosphere?
It felt great just to see the fans back out here, just to play against another opponent besides my teammates. It felt great.
How would you grade that first game? I mean, Signetti, some of the players that we talked to on Saturday said it wasn't up to the standard. How would you grade how that week 1 game went?
Yeah, I agree. It definitely wasn't up to the standard in no part, like offense or defense. I would say nobody played a perfect game. We all have stuff to work on. So I would grade it probably like a C minus. We came out with the win. It's always good to win, but we definitely have stuff to work on.
I want to ask you a question about yourself. I read somewhere that you don't like seeing catches. Even if you're in cover 3, don't like the hitch being allowed. I mean, where does that kind of fire, where does that mentality come from? Because a lot of your teammates say you're kind of a soft-spoken guy. I feel like that it's just my competitiveness. I don't really talk a lot. I'm not the type of guy to get all in your face and talk a lot, but I don't like catches, as you can see. I'm a very competitive guy, and I just hate it. Like, I'm a DB. Like, DBs have to have that mentality, that confidence, so that's what I have. Between that and also really needing a goldfish memory, because you got to, you let up a catch, you got to go to the next play. How important is it to have maybe the confidence of a defensive back, but also, don't let one play define your game?
It's very important, actually. You can't let one play bother you the next couple plays. You got to have that one play mentality as a DB. You're playing the hardest position on the field, so I feel like you got to have that mentality.
Talked to Elijah Surratt in Las Vegas. He said you're arguably the best cornerback in the country. I mean, you guys were at James Madison together. He has a lot of high praise for you. I bet you have a lot of battles together. What does that relationship mean to you?
That's my guy, man. Ever since I came into college, he's actually the best receiver I played. That guy he's going to the next level for sure, and I go against him every day, so it's great to have him.
D'Angelo, when it's game day, do you have a routine, a specific song that you play, or is it just kind of get out to the field?
Oh, no. I got a tradition. Every time I walk off that bus, I play NBA Youngboy All In. So that's what I have. It's mandatory, and I get chills all throughout my body every time I play it. So, yeah.
Now you're 1-0. What does it take to go 2-0 this weekend against Kennesaw State?
I feel like we just have to stop the quarterback run. They have a very athletic quarterback. I would say eliminate the explosives, and I feel like we're going to have a great game.
D'Angelo, thank you so much. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you, Joe. A C minus performance is what D'Angelo Pons had to say about that week 1 matchup. What do you think? Do you agree?
Well, I would 100% agree. I don't think Coach Signetti would say that necessarily, but I do agree. Like I said earlier, the red zone stuff you fix, the long runs you fix. I think Indiana wins that game by significantly more points, and that C is a very fair grade to me, but that wasn't really what brought it up to me. For me, it was more the NBA Youngboy, giving the goosebumps of it.
I like, the goosebumps. I mean,
he has the same effect on me. I understand what he's saying.
Paints a picture.
Exactly.
Paints a picture
Very
for you.
much so.
I can totally imagine what he's experiencing. Is he what? I cannot imagine anything.
No,
not anywhere close. Well, something that both sides talked about was the special teams really creating chances, and specifically Jonathan Brady. We showed you the highlight once. We're going to show you again. 91-yard punt return touchdown. Lets it hit the deck. Heard a lot of people in the crowd saying, don't pick it up. Don't pick it up. Well, he did. And, I mean, he took that hush puppy to the house. The longest punt return touchdown for Indiana since 2004.
Yeah, not just anybody in the crowd. I was in the press box saying, whoa, get away from that ball. That ball touches you. That could be a very bad play. He ended up getting about 3 bounces there. And, man, he was lucky it ended up going the way it did. But, hey, no coach is going to say anything to you when you go 91 yards down the sideline. Reminds me of the Phillip Rivers video, 91 yards down the right sideline. It was the jump start that Indiana needed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at the crowd. The crowd got right back into it. That was after the first drive where Indiana got stuffed at the goal line. And I believe it was after the second drive as well. Wasn't it after two?
It was.
After the fumble, after the BB fumble. I mean, the crowd was totally out of it before that play.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana fans weren't expecting to have to wait an entire quarter to see their team start to kind of get some success. But what better way to get the crowd back into it than a 91-yard punt return touchdown? Fans love that kind of stuff. You know, you go down and you punch it in from a yard out. It is what it is. But when you're going 91 yards down the field, the flags are going to be waving.
I'll tell you something else that fans probably expected to see was a lot of good from quarterback Fernando Mendoza. There was definitely some good that the quarterback showed off, but there was also a lot of not so good throughout the entire game.
Well, Graham, let's start with this pass. Just over his head, thrown it too fast. Probably shouldn't have even thrown it in that window. Now, this is the ball to Omar Cooper. We're not putting this one on Mendoza. No, sorry, this isn't the Omar Cooper ball. That was an overshot ball down the right sideline. This one is the Omar Cooper ball. We're not going to put it on Mendoza. He actually stands in the pocket well. Great protection. That is a great ball. Like we said, Omar Cooper is kicking himself. He will get that one back. This is a back shoulder fade. That's not a bad ball. Needs to put it more to the sideline. This is a play that nobody ever wants to see again. Rolling out right, Graham, you can't throw across the middle of your body. If you do that, it's going to get intercepted. He's lucky it didn't there. Now, I understand improvising. I talked about it a bunch last week. I love when he improvises. But one, you can't throw it across your body. And two, there's a difference between improvising and a little bit of happy feet. I felt like on Saturday, he didn't have the trust in his linemen. He didn't have the trust in his receivers. And when you're as good of a quarterback as Mendoza, sometimes you get that in your head, oh, I have to do it myself. He doesn't have to do it himself. He knows he doesn't have to do it himself. Eliminate that happy feet a little bit. What else did you see?
Something that I noticed was that there were a couple balls that were just flat out behind a couple receivers where he was thrown it after the receiver was well out of their break and was almost calling for the football. That's how wide open and how early the receiver wanted it and didn't quite get it. So there were a couple instances, and Fernando talked about it. Post-game, he said, you know, I've got to make sure I'm delivering that ball before the receivers get out of their break so that the football can be there when, A, they're probably expecting it, and B, when there's still no room for that DB to really threaten yet. There's one time, I think third quarter, Indiana was in the red zone, ball just flat out behind, I believe, E.J. Williams Jr., and it was kind of like, whoa. And one of those right over the middle of the field where there could have been a safety sitting there ready to pick that ball off, run it the other way. Just a couple of those instances where Mendoza didn't really look sharp, didn't look comfortable, and wasn't willing to throw that ball early enough.
Right, Graham. You hit it right on the head with the actual play, the mechanics, the passing, the reading. For me, what really kind of struck me is the control, what you can kind of control deal. I mean, yes, the passing and everything you can't control, but aside from that, it's the line of scrimmage for me. There were a couple instances where he's at the line of scrimmage and he's not getting on the same page as his linemen. He's not getting on the same page as his receivers, his running backs. One in particular to me was, I believe, a 3rd and 1 play. There's 7 ODU guys in the box, Graham. That screams that they're coming. I would have checked it. You know, we don't know what kind of communication him and Shanahan are having right now. You would have liked him to check out of that play, get into something else. He has to be able to be trusted behind center when he's looking at the play. But we got to calm down a little bit. We're getting on him a little bit. We understand. Graham, you talked about his post-game press conference. I thought it was great. I thought he really took ownership. Yeah. He blamed it on himself. That's what a good quarterback does. More importantly, that's what a good leader does. He brought it upon himself. And even though it wasn't the performance that they wanted, he still seemed upbeat. He seemed excited to be here. And the other thing, Graham, we know that Coach Shanahan didn't break out the full playbook. When the full playbook gets broken out, that's when you can truly judge Mendoza.
Yeah, we saw that late flea flicker where it was kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Like,
right.
Got a flea flicker with 2 minutes left in the fourth. It was a fun play, and Mendoza delivered a good ball, but I totally agree. I think that another telling factor about Mendoza and his character will be how does he come out against Kennesaw State? Those early balls where he drops back, ready to deliver, are they on target? Can he respond from a little bit of adversity and a little bit of criticism early on? I mean, these Indiana fans want to see some good football, especially after 2024. How can he respond after some people are getting on him for that performance?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it right there exactly. He needs to come out. He needs to be sharper, and it's not game one anymore. Take a breath. That's all he needs to do.
We got our players of the game coming up for you. Going to start on the offensive side of the ball. My player of the game for the Indiana Hoosiers got to be Roman Hemby. The running back had a phenomenal first game with the Indiana Hoosiers. The most carries on the team with 23, 117 rushing yards, second only in the game to Colton Joseph, ODU's quarterback, who had, of course, those two very, very long touchdown keepers. He had a phenomenal performance. Hemby, coming from Maryland, we talked about last week, he's one of few guys in the running back room that has a lot of experience in Power 4 football, playing against a Big Ten schedule. He's coming with a lot of that experience, and he showed it off. Really, really strong performance. Your player of the game offensively.
I don't have a player of the game offensively. I'm not going to lie to you, Graham. I was not impressed with the offense. They punched it in the red zone. I think it's a different story. There was a guy on the defense that I was extremely impressed about, and that was Lewis Moore. Lewis Moore led Indiana with 7 tackles. He had the interception, the tipped interception that you saw in the highlight read. They had another pass breakup, Graham. He was all over the place defensively, and his teammates talked about it, how important of a player he is. But there's some important stuff that is going to happen on Monday. He's playing in this game on Saturday, but he has a deposition in Dallas County, Texas. Judge Dale Tillery is going to depose him on his restriction or against his injunction against the NCAA. What that means is if he is able to keep the restraining order, he will be able to continue playing for the rest of the season. If he is unable to, then the future is unknown. Now, there is some precedence with this. You look at Diego Pavia of Vanderbilt last year. It's the junior college aspects. Do junior college years count in the NCAA? Diego Pavia won his case last year with Vanderbilt and was able to play the season. Lewis Moore hopes that precedence is set and followed through with again.
And how about the season Diego Pavia put up with Vanderbilt in 2024? Just wanted to mention that quickly because that was a magical 2024 season for the Commodores. I think that Lewis Moore, I mean, obviously he played very free in that first game. He was all over the place, making tackles. That first interception, it was a 7-7 ball game. There was a lot still felt like on the line. He was playing free and controlled. Another group of people that I want to shout out on the offensive side, the entire O-line for Indiana had a phenomenal game. Totally deserves its flowers. That's something that Fernando Mendoza talked about. That's kind of why he was frustrated in that post-game press conference. He said, you know, our O-line was phenomenal. Did such a good job blocking, protecting, giving lanes for the running backs, and he felt like he couldn't quite deliver with the phenomenal game that the O-line had. I mean, from the first snap to the last, those front five were phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about it last week. Losing Kadick, losing some of the guys up front, we didn't know what it was going to look like. Man, the guy for me was Pat Coogan.
Yeah.
There were a couple pull plays where he got out. Man, he is fast.
He's fast.
He is quick. He got out in front of the running backs. And Graham, if you can have a center who can pull in a play, tap a DN, and get up to a linebacker, you got that freight train Pat Coogan coming at you, moving as fast as he is, hitting as hard as he does. He will be the reason. I'm telling you, he will be the reason that Indiana bursts some big runs later in the season.
I was really excited to watch Coogan play because it seemed like he became a vocal leader for the team in fall camp. When we talked to Aiden Fisher before the season started, before that ODU game, he said that he and Coogan were just talking smack to each other the entire fall camp. Coogan just kind of got here. He just got to Indiana, and he was still already comfortable enough to go toe-to-toe with Aiden Fisher, who's the captain for the team, was a vocal leader for the team last year, has been one of those guys to really help Coach Cignetti in the locker room and team camaraderie. For Pat Coogan to jump in immediately, I knew it was a good sign, and man, he showed it on the field. It was so fun.
And only 1 sack allowed.
1 sack allowed. The protection was phenomenal. And I think that can kind of go back to the happy feet you were talking about, where Fernando Mendoza maybe was a little bit unsettled in the pocket collapsing and, you know, just not quite knowing where to go with it. Maybe not totally the O-line's fault, but definitely, you know, they're going to work to give their quarterback as much time as possible.
100%.
We've got a great game to preview coming up for you, week 2, Indiana playing Kennesaw State. But before we do, our very own Andrew Hilsman was able to catch up with Mikhail Kamara, or not catch up, make a story on Mikhail Kamara. Our Joe Cronin got a couple of interview clips from him for this package. Take a look.
Elite athletes in any sport share a common thread. All of them set lofty goals to be the very best. And perhaps no one has loftier goals than Indiana senior defensive lineman Mikhail Kamara. But in his case, lofty goals come with unwavering belief.
I feel like if you aim higher, if you fall, like it's gonna be still spectacular, right? So I set that goal at 20 sacks. I'll say it again. I set it at 20 sacks. Worst case scenario, I fall and I break the sack record, right? So I feel like if you set your goals high, every single time you get on the field, every single time that you're working out, you have that in your mind. So now you understand, why do I have to go extra on this rep of bench press? Why do I have to go extra in this rep of sprint? So every single time you set higher goals and higher expectations, when it starts to get hard, you realize why you're doing it and what type of work that you need necessary to achieve.
After a 10-sack campaign leading the Hoosiers to the college football playoff last year, Kamara's longtime teammate from James Madison University, running back Kalon Black, says really nothing's changed.
Man, Mikhail's ferocious. He's like a Von Miller, like Khalil Mack. Like he's strong. He's always been like a tough guy for us to scheme up for in practice. You know, he's made a lot of strides, getting better. Even when you come out to get extra work, he's always the one that's out there getting extra work with his other position group mates. And man, he's made so many strides. He's just a great player.
And as for what to expect from Kamara this year, the proverbial limiter from his coaches is completely removed.
Really, all I want from him is I want to see him cut it loose every single play. Play with fire, play with energy. And when he does that, he's a great player.
It's likely that the rest of Indiana's defense will play with the same fire down the line, but until then, look for Mikhail Kamara to lead the charge. For IUSTV Sports, I'm Andrew Hilsman.
Welcome back to Crimson Kickoff. Graham Nash and Thomas Crow. Thank you, Andrew Hilsman, for running us through Mikhail Kamara. Should be very exciting to see what he can do, obviously going for that sack record for the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll have plenty of time as the season goes on and as he has big performances to talk about him. We want to go straight into our preview of Indiana and Kennesaw State. Our very own Brooks White made a quick package for you on the Owls and what you can expect from them.
After a shaky Week 1, Indiana looks to quickly turn the page to Week 2 with the home matchup against Kennesaw State, a program that is still relatively new to the FBS ranks, but already showing signs of growth. The Owls are led by a quarterback familiar to Hoosier fans, Dexter Williams II. Williams began his career here in Bloomington, making his first career start against Michigan State in 2022, before suffering a serious knee injury in the season finale against Purdue. After a long road back, he now finds himself leading Kennesaw State's offense in his senior season. Last week, Williams nearly engineered one of the biggest wins in program history. Kennesaw State went toe-to-toe with Wake Forest on the road, holding a 9-7 lead into the second half before eventually falling 10-9. The Owls' lone touchdown came on a physical 19-yard run by Coleman Bennett, but missed opportunities loomed large, including a missed field goal and a missed extra point that ultimately made the difference. Despite the loss, it was an impressive showing for a team only in its second year at the FBS level. Kennesaw State's defense kept Wake Forest's offense in check, forcing the Demon Deacons to grind out every yard and showing a toughness that really amplifies their lack of top-end depth. For Indiana, this game represents a chance to clean up some early season mistakes and show improvement before Big Ten play. But for Kennesaw State, Saturday is another opportunity to prove that they belong on the same field with established programs. And with Williams at the helm, they'll arrive in Bloomington with confidence.
Welcome back to Crimson Kickoff. Thank you very much, Brooks White. The Owls coming to town for the first time ever. Indiana and Kennesaw State facing off. Only the second season that Kennesaw State as a program is playing in the FBS.
Well, there's one guy on that team who is not, it's not his first trip to Bloomington. That's Dexter Williams. He started at quarterback for Indiana for a couple games in 2022, and Graham, it was not a very successful term. He went 1-3, lost to Penn State, Ohio State, and Purdue. Did get a win against Michigan, but a minus 81 point differential. He had 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in those games. He's hoping for a better return when he comes to Bloomington.
Had a decent start to the season against Wake Forest. It was a pretty close game the entire way between Kennesaw State and Wake Forest. A 10-9 ball game. The difference, an extra point for Kennesaw State. That was really it. But Dexter Williams threw for 149 yards, the most by a KSU quarterback in his first start in program history. He did some good things with his legs too as well. They're dodging the defense. 44 yards on the ground. Indiana might run into a couple issues again with that dual threat quarterback. And then also the defense was really, really strong. A lot of sacks in this game for KSU. It was all kind of happening for him. 4 sacks for KSU, 1 shy of the program record, 7 for loss as a team. Just couldn't get that extra point to tie the game.
Yeah, that would have been huge. But Graham, did you just say that Dexter Williams 149 yards is the most in a debut by a Kennesaw State quarterback?
I did say that.
Now, does that just count the last 2 years?
It very well could.
Okay, I hope it does,
very well
because
could.
that is a really, really bad stat for Kennesaw State trying to throw the ball. I mean, that's like some 1960s type stuff. Graham, let's talk about Gabriel Binyard for a second. He had 103 of the 149 yards. Graham, look at this catch here. First of all, look at the escape, the ball. He almost scores this ball. He is just a foot away from scoring that ball. He had 5 receptions, 103 yards. Look at the big defensive lineman getting worked by Dexter Williams. And then another huge play here for the offense. Williams finds Binyard across the middle. That's another play where kind of an arm or so away from breaking that into the end zone. Now, they only scored 9 points, but you get Binyard involved, he's going to have a heyday for you anytime he touches the ball.
It's a big 1-2 punch, that quarterback wide receiver duo. It can do a lot of damage. I mean, Dexter Williams, obviously very quick, has that threat, so there's got to be a spy. Linebackers got to be watching him, making sure he's not doing anything fancy, and then that allows the wide receivers to get a little bit more open, right? Shake and bake, get into their spots, and then we saw Dexter Williams dropped one into the bucket on that first play. He's got an arm.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great ball on that first play, and even on the last play of the highlight read, getting in between the zones, you got a top side, you got a middle, and you got a bottom side, and you drop that into that zone. That's an elite throw, but that was one of few elite throws. 12 of 33 in the game. I mean, that's not a good percentage, Graham. If they want to have a chance to win on Saturday, they got to clean a lot of that up.
Yeah, and I mean, the defense helped a lot, right? Those 4 sacks, keeping Wake Forest to only 10 points. It was 1 sack away from the program record for Kennesaw State in a game. So the defense is important. We saw them collapsing Wake Forest's pocket pretty rapidly. I mean, there was no real time in a lot of those plays that we watched for the quarterback to be mobile. Another thing that could be interesting, but again, we talked about the O-line for Indiana in that first game, was phenomenal for Mendoza and giving him time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the big thing for Indiana, I think. Keep Mendoza comfortable. Obviously, keep him clean, but keep him comfortable. Don't make him have to evade. Don't make him get that thought like, oh, do I have to get out of here? No, keep him safe. Let him drop dimes. That's what Coach Signetti brought him here to do. He didn't do that much on Saturday, this past Saturday. For Indiana to have a dominant blowout win on Saturday, they have to keep him comfortable.
Let's get into our score predictions for this game, Indiana and Kennesaw State. I'll go first. I'll start us off. Had it at 41-3 Indiana. I went pretty big. I went bold week 1 as well, and ODU had a much better performance than I gave them credit. I'll go hand up. I'll jersey tap.
I did as well.
Yeah, we both were not.
We were both in the 50s.
Yes, we were both on the 50s. Went a little bit shy. The reason that I've got this big of a differential in points is I'm kind of following the 2024 trend. If you look at what Indiana did in 2024, didn't play necessarily its best football in the season opener against FIU, especially considering what the Hoosiers went on to do in that 2024 season. But after that, slower start against FIU, where it was still a dominant win, Indiana beat Western Illinois 77-3. So,
well, I guess that helps.
Yeah, if I'm following trends like I said I am, I think that Indiana saw a lot of good defense. I think the defense is going to keep it clean as well. Obviously now a little bit more attention to detail when it comes to the QB keepers. I think they're ready for that because Dexter Williams can make those plays. And I think Fernando Mendoza in the offense is going to have a good game.
I agree completely with you, Graham. One, ODU is a much better team than I think that Kennesaw State is. ODU is a competitor in the Sun Belt. Kennesaw State, I think it's going to show that they're just not necessarily on the same level as Indiana on Saturday. Now, granted, when I shared my score prediction before this, I did not know yours.
You did not.
Hand up, 41. No, sorry, 40. Did I go 40?
Yeah, 41.
Yeah, 41.
We had
41.
the same,
We did
yeah,
have
we had the same score.
I was hoping that wasn't the case. 41-6 is what I have Indiana winning by. Now, 6. It could just be 2 field goals.
Okay.
Or they did miss an extra point last week.
They did miss an extra point.
Give yourself 2 outs. It's like a game of poker. You got to find the ways to get out. That's my out. 41-6, Indiana wins. They keep Mendoza comfortable. I'm going to keep saying it. Keep him safe in the pocket. The defense is going to do their job. And then Monday, Lewis Moore, we get the decision on him.
Man, you're playing a slick game tonight. For the 41-6, that's a good play. I've been looking up at you all night. I'm pissed, Tom. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's going to be a fun game regardless. The Rock is going to be packed yet again. I think something to talk about as well, just to wrap up this thought on the upcoming matchup. Second year in the FBS for Kennesaw State. In year 1 in Conference USA, Kennesaw State was 2-6. Only had 2 wins over the course of the season, so the 2 wins did come in conference play. But you mentioned that Kennesaw State maybe not up to the standard that ODU is in the Sun Belt. I think that can be your evidence right there. 2-6 in Conference USA last season.
Yep, you hit it right there. I mean, they just don't have the Colton Josephs, the protection that they kind of had on the O-line. And ODU really had a very good defense and really took advantage of Indiana in a lot of spots, especially in the red zone. I just don't see Kennesaw State having the same players.
Well, 41-6 for you, 41-3 for myself. It's going to be a fun game no matter what happens.
Absolutely.
That's going to wrap us up for the second episode of Crimson Kickoff. Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight at Merchants Bank Field inside Memorial Stadium. For our entire production crew that's done a phenomenal job this entire week getting set up, getting us some lights so we don't look like we're at a campfire telling ghost stories again. For my partner, Thomas Crow. For Joe Cronin, who couldn't be here with us tonight. We miss you, man. Wish that you could have been here with us. I'm Graham Nash saying so long. Indiana playing Kennesaw State this Saturday at noon on FS1. We'll be back next week, Thursday at 8 p.m.
Cooper got open and caught it. Touchdown, Indiana.
Going up the middle is Omar Cooper, and he'll walk into the end zone.
Complete at the 47. Surratt with no one to beat.